When I was discharged from the hospital, the idea of going back home filled me with a mix of dread and determination. As I walked through the door, I saw Tom and his parents sitting in the living room, their faces lit up with forced smiles. Mrs. White even went as far as to cook my favorite dish, spaghetti carbonara, which sat steaming on the dining table. The sight was almost comical, her trying so hard to play the doting mother-in-law. It felt like a scene from a bad play. Tom rushed up to me, his smile a little too wide. "Chloe, you're back. We missed you so much," he said, pulling me into a hug that I didn't return. "Thanks, Tom," I said, pulling away gently. I glanced around at the stage setting, my resolve hardening. As we sat down to eat, the tension was palpable. They were trying too hard to act normal, but I could see the impatience flickering in Tom's eyes. It didn't take long before he dove straight to the point. "So Chloe, when do you think you'll get the inheritance?" "There's so much we can do with it," he asked, trying to sound casual but failing miserably. I put down my fork, looking him straight in the eye. "Tom, it doesn't concern you because I'm filing for divorce," I stated calmly, sliding the divorce papers across the table towards him. The room went dead silent for a moment before a terrible scream erupted from Mrs. White. "Chloe, have you lost your mind? Think about what you're doing." Tom's face turned from shock to desperation. "Chloe, please, I love you. We can fix this. Don't throw away our marriage over a misunderstanding," he pleaded, his voice cracking. But I was done listening to lies. "A misunderstanding?" I echoed sharply. "Calling me a stupid cow behind my back is not a misunderstanding. I heard everything, Tom. Everything." Mrs. White's face turned red, her anger barely contained. "You ungrateful girl. We'll sue you for half of that inheritance. You'll see." I reached into my bag and pulled out a copy of the prenuptial agreement. "Actually, you won't," I said, tossing it on the table. "This says otherwise. You can't touch my inheritance." Tom and his parents stared at the document, the color draining from their faces. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. I found a small apartment in a quiet part of town where the mornings were filled with the sounds of birds, not bickering. It wasn't just a new place, it was a fresh start. I spent the first week just settling in, buying a few pieces of furniture, some plants, making it mine. The silence was a stark contrast to the constant tension I had lived with, and I loved it. It was during these days of newfound solitude that I truly began to appreciate the peace I had been missing. One Saturday morning, I was out on my balcony enjoying a cup of coffee when Lisa came by. She burst through the door with her usual flair, holding a box of pastries. "Chloe, this place is fantastic," she exclaimed, setting the box on my new kitchen counter and hugging me tightly. "How are you holding up?" "Better than I have in years, honestly," I replied, pouring her a cup of coffee. "It's like I can finally think straight without all the noise." Lisa chuckled as she sipped her coffee.